Update, Legion request for Remembrance Day funding. Mr. Beasley, just.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to invite Debbie Haywood, the manager of the events group and the Prince George Conference and Civic Centre, to present this report.
Thank you.
Thank you. This report is to provide follow-up information as requested by Council for the Remembrance Day ceremony funding for the Legion and the financial support already committed by the City. The City is very proud to have been providing support to the Legion for the Remembrance Day ceremony through both cash and in-kind supports for the last 20 years, more than 20 years. A few of the things that we do is applying a yearly rental subsidy for the use of the Civic Centre, paying staff to work on the stat holiday, not charging for the setup day, among other things. For this year, with the subsidy and supports, the final cost went from approximately $8,000 to about $1,000. Administration has also negotiated with our exclusive food and beverage contractor for the Legion to be able to use the kitchen facilities, bring in their own food and beverage. This is prepared with the assistance of the contractor staff and, at times, administration staff as well. In speaking with the Legion for this follow-up, they were able to confirm that due to generous donations, they no longer require the original requested funds. They've also submitted an overview of the costs for both 2022 and 2023. Going forward, they would like Council to provide the Civic Centre and the in-kinds and supports that they currently receive from the City at no charge, beginning with this past 2023 ceremony. The administration has also made the Legion aware of the City's current grant streams and which ones they would be eligible to apply for. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, staff, for working on this report. I just want to say that, what it appears to me is that it's a difference of about $1,000 in expenses that we're looking at, correct?
That's correct.
So I think that amount of money is very insignificant in terms of how much that costs each taxpayer, and I think as a gesture of goodwill, I think it would be, I feel that as a city we all owe our lives to the people who fought and died for our city and the Legion, or for our country, and the Legion is an organization that supports our veterans, and so I would move that we can I make them. I guess maybe I should wait to hear from my other colleagues. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thanks, Your Worship. And thanks to Councillor Klassen for her remarks. I think I have a different point of view on this, so I thought I'd perhaps chime in. I will say that I really want to thank staff for all of the work they do, because without them, this event really wouldn't be possible. And I think working on the statutory holiday is just one small piece, but just shows the commitment of our staff. So I am really grateful to them for working with the Legion to make this happen. Growing up, I was a Sea Cadet. I was very involved in Remembrance Day, and I think I've gone to about 24, 25 Remembrance Day ceremonies, and for most of them have participated in either a marching band or a concert type band. And I deeply value the work the Legion does to support veterans. The issue I'm really stuck on is that, and I understand it's only $1,000, but we have so many nonprofits in town, and waiving all of the fees for the Legion is really setting a precedent that expectation perhaps might be available for any other nonprofit that's wanting to do good community work as well. So that's where I struggle in that. Right now it's $1,000, but I think the expectation from other nonprofits would be that they would be entitled to the same benefit as others, or as the Legion. And I just don't know how much that would add up to and amount to in the long run. And I don't know that it would be insignificant. I think it would be the opposite. So I think that the $1,000 for them to pay is extremely reasonable. I think we saw that we have incredibly generous people in the city of Prince George willing to step up. We have grant streams available so that they could look for other funding sources to fund that $1,000. So I think my preference would be to leave it as is at this point and really encourage the Legion to try and find that $1,000 from other sources, even if it is our own grant program, but let them be adjudicated similarly to their nonprofit peers, so that it is fair and equitable among the groups. So that's just where I am on it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Skegan.
Well, thank you, Worship, and I tend to disagree a bit. I think the Legion is a cut above the rest with regards to really their stature, and I think Councillor Klassen touched on what they did for us. They have, a shrinking membership. They deserve our support, and had I been here a couple of weeks ago, I would have definitely supported, because Council had the ability through our contingency to give them the money, and to talk about the generous people in the community. The reason the generous people in the community stepped up is because the Legion had they came to us for help. They couldn't get it at that point, and someone else come up and said, "Here's $18,000. We want this to happen." I definitely support Councillor Klassen waiving the $1,000. I don't, in my opinion, think it sets any kind of example for other nonprofits to come and say, "Look, you cut the Legion some slack, give us some slack." I think that's apples and oranges. So I definitely think I'll support giving them any kind of break they we can. And again, they do amazing work. And anyways, I'll leave it at that. And perhaps some of my other colleagues can touch on it. Getting a bit late. I'm stumbling along here, so thanks.
Thank you. Would you anchor this, because you're the expert on this one? Councillor Scott?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to surprise you all. I do not support this. I believe that on a daily basis, I deal with nonprofit organizations in this city who are struggling every bit as much as the Royal Canadian Legion, and they cannot get by because of fundamental changes to grant applications and dispensation of grants across the board. I also believe that this organization, and I'm a 45-year member, but this organization does not see Remembrance Day as a community event. It is a Legion event. And so we have to dig a little deeper before granting any further support. What they've received is substantial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Sampson.
Thanks very much, Your Worship, and thanks to my colleagues. Appreciate the debate and the discussion, and I appreciate staff for bringing this back and doing the work. And I just want a little bit of clarity on process. When the Legion came to us at the last, I think that was the October 30th meeting, and asked us for this, was proper process for Council to make the decision then, or are we supposed to take a meeting before we make the decision as per our procedure bylaw?
Mr. Babish.
Your Worship, I believe that's in the Sustainable Finance Policy, which Council recently amended, which provides direction to Council to refer any decisions on Council contingency to a following meeting, and that process was followed, Your Worship.
Great, thanks. Just want to be clear on the process. And maybe a second question through to staff, just a bit of further dialogue on the funds that we already provide through discounted rates and everything else. Just is this, would staff say in their opinion that this is maybe already a little above and beyond what we normally provide for typical nonprofits seeking rentals through our facilities and typical rates? Are we already going a little above and beyond the standard for the Legion?
What we are doing is basically what we've done for the last 20 some odd years. It is a bit more than other organizations get. Other organizations get the discounted rental rate, which is 20% off the standard rate, and then we try and work with them for just to work within their budget, but adhere strictly to the fees and charges bylaw.
Great, thanks. And then lastly, I know it's a bit of speculation, so I don't want to put staff on the spot too much, but in your kind of expert opinions, when it comes to our granting processes that are already in place, would you say the Legion's a pretty good candidate among, some of the opportunities that are available from the city for this $1,000?
Through the MyPG grant, they definitely would be a candidate that would be adjudicated through our adjudication process. Yeah.
Great, thanks. And so there's a process, we go above and beyond to supply them more than anybody else already. There's a process that the city already has in place that would very likely see them successful in getting that extra $1,000 to cover them off 100%. And if in the worst case scenario, they are not successful in the MyPG grant, they could come at an earlier time to council, make the request, we would wait that one meeting, and then we can make the decision on the $1,000 with the council contingency. Is that what I'm hearing? That's
I would say so.
Slightly rhetorical, I guess. To me, it seems like a no-brainer. We support the Legion significantly. And I want to be very, very clear. I'm a big supporter of the Legion privately as an individual through my day job, and happy to do so here around the council table as well. I just don't know if I'm in favor of creating processes that are not necessarily fair through everything else that we do in the city. I want to be as fair as possible in executing grant dollars. And I've spoken about this every time we talk about council contingency, that I'm not the biggest fan of council contingency because we're not adjudicating these requests against their peers. And I think that this is very likely going to pass through our grant systems that are in place. So that's a great example of when council contingency can be used. They go through the process, they don't, for some reason, potentially aren't successful, and then we can step up and say, you know what, this is of extreme importance to the community. We want to help you out with that $1,000. To me, that's what council contingency is for. But first, they should go through our process and processes and see if they are, eligible. And I think that we will find they are. So for me, I'm not going to support doing that right now. I would. What I would support is that we receive this for information, but then we also ask staff to follow up with the Legion and let them know that this is your best path through the city's processes that exist. We'll get you that $1,000 hopefully through the granting process, and if you're not successful, council does want to hear back from you and invite them back. If they're not successful, invite them back and tell us to come and speak to council and not make a request for council contingency. But to me, that's the most fair process. So. I won't move that right now because I recognize my colleagues were generous in, holding back their motion. But my preference would be that we receive it and we communicate that to the Legion that how to walk through the process, and then that council invites them back if they're not successful for some reason through the granting process. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Polillo.
It's tough. Because I understand exactly where Councillor Skaken and Councillor Klassen are coming from, but I think this report shows the significant contribution we make already. And to Councillor Sampson's point, there is process to follow. And I think we've made the commitment in this report that we would work with the Legion to help them through that grant process. I know when they were here 3 weeks ago, they articulated that they really don't have the expertise or staff, but perhaps they can use our staff's expertise and help to apply for that grant. And we've heard that, they'd be a very, very good candidate. And with that grant and what we already give, up to almost close to $8,000, that is significant, and I agree with Councillor Ramsey as well too, that I believe this does set a precedent, and I would see other nonprofits coming forward, and perhaps they haven't come forward because I don't think it was ever articulated or expressed exactly how much support we as a city give to the Legion every year to help them with ceremonies every year. So I'd like to move the recommendation that we receive it for information and work with the staff or work with the Legion to help them apply for grants, and then hopefully they'll be covered in total.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Frizzell. Second by Councillor Skaken. Yeah. Councillor Frizzell, please speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Yu, and particular thanks to Councillor Scott for her clear message tonight with her role in Remembrance Day. That carries a lot of weight. But as we were talking, it twigged to me that back in 2014, almost 10 years ago, this council passed a community covenant. And we, by 2015, so a community covenant is defined by Veterans Affairs as an agreement made to help the veterans in a community that's defined by that community and works to support veterans. And you may recall that in 2014, we didn't have a Veterans Affairs office here. And I remember this council meeting with our MPs, and as a result of that and other things, Veterans Affairs coming back to Prince George. Since then, we haven't done much with the community covenant, and I think it's time to recharge it, determine what that needs to be and how we can help veterans through the Legion, perhaps through Remembrance Day, but we are a community covenant city, and it's time to redesign what that means and to bring it back. And after Councillor Palillo, after this motion is attended to, I'd like to refer that. We can refer it back since it's intergovernmental to explore.
Thank you, Councillor Frizzell, for reminding us the covenants, community covenants exists, that we need to put some meat to it. Regarding the president set, I'll go any day to set special president for the Legion. Anytime. If we put the Legion on the same organization as everybody else, then we're missing the point altogether. Having said that, I think there's a compromise we can definitely reach. We do not need to have a special type arrangement for the Legion regarding the ceremony itself, but we can definitely discuss this item along with the community covenants piece together during intergovernmental, as well as during the next council as a whole, when we talk about council contingency fund, that we can set, make sure there's some budget there to accommodate these kind of requests when the time comes. And personally, if push comes to shove, if the mayor, you have to use the mayor's funds to fund the November 11 event, so be it. So right now, let's just vote to receive the information from the staff, and we go from there. Thank you. Councillor Claassen?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion before us is that Councillor Palillo's with just this, or because then you sort of added that then have staff or the staff work with the Legion or whatever. Was it, or were you meaning to just move forward receipt of the report? Essentially move receipt of the recommendation, but there is reference in the report already committing our staff to work with the Legion staff on my PG grants. That's already in there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I just would like, it wasn't quite clear earlier, but I do think that our council contingency in the sustainable finance says when practicable, we're supposed to wait for the next meeting. So I just wanted to clear that up so that we did have the option technically to override that, the good advice to wait for another meeting, because I think it is good advice to wait for another meeting. But it does say when practicable. And I would just want to voice my, just to say that I think just because the Legion isn't, I think the Legion is almost a supra-municipal body in that it exists across Canada, and we almost exist at the, you could say we exist at the pleasure of our veterans, yeah, and not the other way around. And so, so anyway, that's what I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Councillor Sampson.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. Just looking for clarity on the funding source that you see available to this if council doesn't approve it. You said the mayor's funds. What is there just looking for clarity on that? Is it
private?
Oh, you'll just pay for it.
I'll pay for myself. Okay. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
No problem. Anything for the veterans, for the Legion, least we can do. Thank you. Call the question. On receipt. Recommendation number F5, as is stated. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. F6. Yeah, go ahead.
Move that we refer to intergovernmental to look into the meaning of community covenant in 2023.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Sampson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Fazell.